Okay. Well, fourth pickup here for Atlantis' end of things. Have a think about this one. They do need what appears to be 2 more cores to come out. Maybe a safe lane of their own to come out here, as they don't see the... Well, they could have a mid-tiny. It's hard to tell. It's very flexible here on AG's end of things.
I think AG really enjoys Norman on the Tiny more than anyone else. Like, out of all the teams that runs that pause for Tiny, AG runs it the most. And they were running it before everyone else. You know, before the cool kids started copying them, AG were the hipsters.
Oh.
Kept running Tiny 4, so...
I feel like you've got me in your mind when you say that, John.
No, I don't.
I
open all Warlock players.
No, you don't, John. I can tell. I can tell.
I'm just telling you. You have to appreciate all his spells. You're still calling, oh, people's try. No, it's great. It's great in the right hands, Mikey.
I said it was a great spell.
You just keep dissing it, though. You diss it. It's like, what you got against the slows? What you got against slow, Mike?
Why
you a speedist?
Why are you gatekeeping, dude? Why are you gatekeeping Warlock for?
Gatekeep girl. No, what's it? Gatekeep gaslight girl boss. That's why.
What the hell is that?
All right. I don't know. It's a Twitter thing. I don't know.
Very good. Well, there's a Spectre coming out now, John. You keep talking about how strong Spectre Warlock is in the lane, and well, now it does come out. The Spectre last game, it didn't do too badly. Like, it felt like it had some great impact, especially later on in the game. But you know, a couple of tier 4 dives here and there, and that kind of tends to screw up the game for you. I wonder though, if you're AG's end of things, do you feel like you can go back to the Morphling now, perhaps?
I don't think you... If you go Morphling, you run a Razor mid and Wami on the Dawnbreaker. Not the biggest fan. I think you just last picked the Azure hero. I mean, you could try Dawnbreaker mid, but it's been a while since I remember people raving about that from Thompson, so not really sure. If you run the Tiny mid, Dawnbreaker 4, you could still run the Wami Razor in that scenario, but again, I just don't see Norman splitting with the Tiny. Although I guess we've seen Azure play it once or twice. I think they have the idea. And they are banning mids from AG, so perhaps trying to bait them in. They don't have last pick overall, so they will have to show their flex first on AG's end. Razor versus Spectre matchup, it's not amazing, but you can still kind of make it work. I think you don't have a natural Silver Edge carrier because Tiny would be support. So maybe it would be for the best that Tiny goes mid or safe for AG's and just have that break mechanic on the spec. We saw DB itemize for Silver Edge himself on the Morphling. I mean, you could do so on a Razor. It just doesn't naturally fit your item progression all too well, so it can be a bit awkward. So we'll see. AG don't have that last pick overall. Atlantis should have a good time finding that lane matchup they'd want on mid and try to slow Azura down because he had a great time running around on that Void Spirit. He was very disruptive. He got his Ags timing. Even before that, he was already active with just Phase Boots Null. He was already running around the map and causing havoc.
Okay. Well, final pickup to come here. AG. Seems like they need a mid laner. Have a think about this one. They still could switch up the Razor Pos one if they want. It is against the Spectre, so you want to make sure you've got the counters, because again, Atlantis, they seem to know what they're doing with this Pos 1 Spectre. I wonder what they do go into here. Like, should still be a mid lane to be picked up. Oh, okay. They'll go down the arc route. That's an interesting one.
I mean, okay, so Pause 1 Alc is actually really popular right now. I think, unfortunately for us, Mike, in the games we casted, it's not good.
Terrible.
Up against the Spectre, though, this is a good way to match that tempo. You will find earlier farm. They'll be able to build up. Is that, okay, maybe a mid Mars here? Yeah, offlane Marcy for WS, Wonder Boy on the Mars mid. And Army Genius is kind of looking at their heroes, figuring out what they want. Vericious on the Witch Doctor, there's still that flex with the Tiny and the Dawnbreaker and the Alcohol most, and the Razor and what lane they'd want to go. Please tell me they're connected. They are. So they're not disconnected, they're just thinking about this. I would say though, even without seeing who plays what here, I think Atlantis does have a very solid draft. You can now stall safely for your Spectre. You have good team fight with a Mars and a Warlock, and you can buff up your Spectre every time with a Mars. Azura will play that mid tiny, and Norman will take the Dawnbreaker with DB on the Elk. He does have the Space Marine Alchemist there, so looking good. Atlantis still has the easier time. You just build up in the Spectre, you can stall out. Sure, the Alchemist might be able to get an early item spike depending on DB's itemization, but it does feel like AG's big strength in their counterfight and their team fight threat with their Golem drop. Last time, it's kind of absent. You don't have that big combination to play with the Dawnbreaker, Solar Guardian on top outside of Avalanche Toss, and maybe a good cask. And that's not the easiest thing to do. You just don't have that big setup like, say, Arena does to line up for a good Golem drop. Or you don't have that global presence that the Haunt would have. You don't have that mobility this time from Azure outside of his blink usage on Tiny. So I think Atlantis, again, they looked decent enough in game one. They actually had that lead until, as you mentioned, they dived tier 4s. I think this time around they're kind of safe from that prospect.
Well, let's see how it goes, John. Game number 2 here against AG and Atlantis. Should be a very interesting matchup, John. I have absolutely zero faith in Alchemist, but, you know, I also have zero faith in Spectre right now. So there you go. I know they showed us a great game on that Spectre last game around. I just don't know if you have enough time against an Alk to make the same thing happen. We're going to have to wait and see. So it does feel like they're going to have to try very hard to try and infiltrate the jungle of AG, take some stacks out, make sure that this Alk just doesn't have the freest game of his life. Let's see how they do go as we do go into game number 2. And there, like you said, John, the space suit is here for the Alk. Very, I don't want to say it's a pretty cosmetic, John. It's
a funny cosmetic, at least. It's a funny one.
All right, it's funny.
Yeah, it's a funny one. I know. It's like, I still want to see someone gift Ags and then get an Ags for themselves for bonus damage in the spell amp, but never happens.
Nope.
No.
Oh, high ground. They jump right in with Celestial Hammer. They've got the vision here from Narman. Warmy with the link out as well, but there's a stun out onto WS. Who are we actually aiming? Everyone's just aiming different targets. Eventually, it seems like Atlantis, they are going to back their way out. AG, I suppose, get the better end of all that. Now, that's going to be about it.
30 seconds to battle.
Yeah, just a bit poking and prodding. Atlantis gets a D ward on the cliff, so I guess they're feeling pretty happy here. Still clumping around, and they've got their stuns ready once more here on the side of AG. If they find that opportunity, Ahead and WS would be a good set.
Yep, stun available again from DB. Looks like they've got the Mirana this time around as the stun will land perfectly. And of course, they went for level 1 arrows. There's no way out of this. It's now WS. Well, he needs to get himself out of there, but he's taking a fair bit of damage here. Even Varish is going to constantly chase him down. Other side of the map. Bit more damage to come out here onto Ponyo. In the end, I believe it was a 2-for-2 trade in the bounty runes anyway, but First Blood going the way of AG is going to be a pretty nice start for them.
They're going to feel good about that. They're not going to mind too much. And, you know, start to get out. I mean, DB did get First Blood gold as well, so her Alk already off to a great start. And there is some aggression you can pull out in the bot lane there, Mike, for DB. I mean, you've got the double stun lane, cast plus Concoction is pretty darn nice. You can always shove out the wave once the acid sprays out, and there's not much WS can really do. He has Dispo, sure, but if you're just chain stunned, it's free damage for Rich to get in. And you have this Dispo's arrow combo that can come out down the line, but you do have to kind of put your Marcy in the firing line to get that done.
The thing is, it's not that easy to land that combo either. Like, you've really got to be kind of coordinated as to where the disposed target is going. And it's not the longest stun in the world either, as most Marcy players tend to leave Dispose at level 1 and go for points up in the Unleash instead. We'll have a look at the other lanes while we have a chance, though. Of course, mid lane Azura is going to be on that mid Tiny, and Wonderboy is going to be against him here in the mid Mars. Do you give the advantage one way or the other here, John, in this mid lane matchup?
I would say Azura probably has a slightly better time. Both sides have really good wave clear, but the threats of Tiny right click at least manages to get some harassment off while finding the CS without expending too much mana. So it feels a little bit nicer for Tiny. Kill threat with Avalanche Toss is easier to pull off in comparison to Spear back to tower. I think that should give Azura the confidence to just hold the lane, get the farm, and go into that blink time we talked about for the Tiny.
I've got another kill on the Mirana this time around, and I'll tell you what, John, had they landed that unstable concoction onto WS with the Melodic, that would have been so much damage in WS. He is still going to cop it. DB. So aggressive with these stuns out, and it really is starting to pay off. Like, just the amount of harassment they're throwing out with just these stuns alone. With the Soul Ring up, there's no stopping it.
There's no stopping him, and it's so hard for WS to walk up and harass him. Even Ahyad can't find the angle to just plink at DB. So you're pretty happy here for AG. 2-0 already. 1 assist on Yalk, 1 kill on him. And with that flex in the Mars, we didn't even talk about this from the draft, but you suddenly get a really good lane for Wami, right? He suddenly has this mid lane, top lane versus the Spectre, where he feel good, although.
He's going to be alright. He gets level 2 just in the nick of time to be able to leap away. Stun still lands, but it's not going to be too much damage. Let's have a look at that top lane. The final lane we haven't really talked about yet. Of course, Mango Rose and Ponyo against each other here. Excuse me, rather with each other. Against Wami and Narman, as DP down a bot lane ends up dropping as soon as I look away. So apparently they do get their revenge here down bot lane.
Yep. And apparently the anime duo does work. So they do manage to make it work. It's one for rarer anime duos, isn't it? Mirana Persona with Marcy. They punish DB a bit, but I want to talk about that top lane. Again, they flex the Mars onto the mid there, right? Wami gets a really good lane up against the Spectre, which is where the doubts were rising. You expect maybe a tougher time if that Razor was safe lane. They flex their draft really hard, and suddenly this lane is super tough for Mango Rose. He can walk up in CS or at least spam out the dagger, but you have to be cautious. If Wami comes in with a Link, gets the slow off with the Plasma Field, it's not too hard to land a Starbreaker and for Wami to sap even more damage. And for Ponyo, it's a very, very passive lane. Just pull, get the Shadow Word off into your spec, hope she can farm, and just rinse and repeat. That's something the AG draft can kind of punish by just pushing forward all the time and just getting their own farm going.
We'll even take the small camp stacks being made there by Ponyo to try and go for those pulls, and even Narman helping out with the Celestial Hammer. Enough damage over so Wami can finish off the job. Mango Rose not having too bad of a time in this top lane though, to be fair, against the Razor. As levels do go up though, you certainly do have to be a little bit more wary of the amount of damage they can pump out. But speaking of, down a bot lane now, DB in a bit of trouble himself, and the Alchemist is going to have to back off and rely on these tangos to heal him back up. So this bot lane, I mean, while they had a very strong start, it is looking rather weak now from AG.
Yeah, it's kind of slowing down. They're finding the groove here down bot. Up top though,
They've got the Warlock. Ponyo. Go down. This DB again down a bot lane is in trouble. Casks are flying out. The Mirana, one more right click would have done it, but not quite. They'll get their heals out in time, and DB is going to be able to barely survive. Though so will the Marcy. He's not going to reach. Trying his absolute best as the arrow is going to be blocked off by his support. Make sure it does not land onto the Alchemist. I suppose with the Witch Doctor heal out, it is quite a lot of sustain here for the Alch to be able to get a reset going.
Yep. You managed to get that regen off, so you're kind of happy. You just CS, you've got the point up in Grievous Greed. Up top is still a bit of a back and forth. You know, Wami's still getting flinged away. Ponyo is using the Shadow Word much more aggressively because he sees that Mangrose isn't actually being targeted. And that's where the Spectre's getting all the space. You're not really pushing the envelope here onto Razor. Wami is still finding that initial farm though. And I think the key thing now going forward for the side of AG is watching stacks, preventing the Spectre from finding too much room to build into that Ags timing that we saw from Mango Rose last time. And you are winning hard on mid, although as I say that, Mango Rose,
top lane, a lot of damage being dealt, but he's going to be able to survive. It's a bit of harassment going on in the mid lane as well here against Wonder Boy, but he's also fine. It seems like slowly but surely AG is starting to get a little bit more aggressive here in this laning stage. Especially the top lane is where you'd kind of expect the kills to start coming out here between Wami and Narman. Mango Rose though, still able to survive through it. Still finding a little bit of farm here on the Spectre. Narman, to be fair, is also out of mana, so can't really move in for any kind of harassment out. But they're zoning out Mango Rose very nicely, so he can't really hit creeps anyway. That's going to give Wami a very free Razor lane. So again, there's nothing they can do about it. Even with the Warlock, all they can do is sustain.
it's just super passive. Just try to farm, try to survive the lane, and hope that you can get the room to stack up. Unfortunately, there's not really much room for Ponyo to leave lane, so no resources being built up. I do express some concern for Atlantis considering Azura's lane. Like this tiny, uncontested, no one walking in to stop him, has the max avalanche already, great rune control from him, and the blink isn't too far off. That should be up within the next 2-3 minutes. Once you have that tiny blink around setting up place, you're not going to have too much room to really move out. Ahia does show up on mid with the arrow ready. He could try to combine, but is pretty hard with the angles that Azura is presenting here.
That's backing his way out, back down towards the bot lane. Meanwhile, DB in a bit of trouble. Chase is on. The Alchemist, he does go for the Unseated Concoction immediately, but they have the Unleash into the arrow. Almost there. DB, though, going to be healed up again by Varish. They will keep the chase going. Haunt out as well, but they've lost DB. He's fine. We're still thinking about going for the chase, but unable to do so. So DB miraculously surviving through this. As Azura, meanwhile, does find Ponyo in the mid lane.
First haunt unsuccessful for Atlantis. Mangaro's, not being around, and they managed to punish the Warlock for trying to stack up in the jungle. Great opportunity found by AG from that move out. And DB gets to just go back farming. He has his level 6 now. Going for that same kill move is not quite going to pan out. The regen should be enough along with a Warlock Witch Doctor heal coming through. So you are holding these lanes steady, and this pacing for AG just feels perfect. 4-1, less than 1k lead their way. The Alk still has a way to go in building up. It has been a slower lane for him, but he's still number 2 in net worth despite that aggression coming out. And the Spectre is going to have a bit of a tough time catching up there.
Ponyo, the Warlock now, and very far forward. Probably has no way out of this. Narman take the kill for himself and does protect the stacks that were being made in the triangle. So there is vision left over, so Wonderboy is going to come in and try to maybe snag it himself, but still a lot of heroes around here from AG, and they do drop the arena. In comes the cavalry, though. The avalanche does come down. Wonderboy. Static Link is going to come out. The Mars has certainly gone a bit too far here, and Wonderboy will eventually free toss is there. It does connect. Azura picking up another, and that's a big pick-off.
That's massive. That's Azura's blink already flying out here. We talked about that blink timing 2 minutes after we mentioned it. He's got it up. He's ready to make plays for his team. They can connect onto him. They are just lacking some levels, I think, on the supports. You don't really have the Solar Guardian to combine on top of that blink in Avalanche Toss, but you might not even need it at this point in the game. How far Azura's going with a tiny algorithm. So, gonna see them group around, get the bottom top up for Azura, maybe even go for a smoke play to reveal that blink.
WS been trying to chase down DB, has found him now. Unleash still going with the sidekick. He just needs a bit more damage, but the Marcy can't find him. DB still running away. Tips out from Varish as well as WS is still trying. There's no way to get the rebound off onto the Alchemist though, so we'll leave him be. Bit of a shame there. That was the second time WS has popped the Unleash trying to kill off the Alch and just couldn't finish the job.
And DB comfy enough to just go into the jungle.
They found the Spectre. They've got plenty of damage as well. No chance of Mangarose getting out. Melodic there just in case, and they didn't even need to pop the Death Ward here from Varish. He still holds on to it, and well, this early on, that Death Ward, it does a hell of a lot of damage.
It really does, and it's well played out from Norman. Finds the space to get his level 6 going, combines with that Avalanche Toss combo, great blink reveal from Azura with that smoke play. That does provide some room for Atlantis to shove in bot, but you lose your spec, starting to fall behind bottom network 4, lots of recovery from mid here, and Azura gets some room to shove in the mid. Still tiny, still has good damage to deal onto those objectives. The rest of the team to back him up.
Toss away, this is a big one. Mangarose again, gonna try and horn out of there, and this time will be fine, but does go back in after Azura. Keep in mind, they still have that Death Ward, but Azura has been kind of left alone to die here on this tiny. See, we'll keep trying to fight back, but Mangarose all over him. Azura for a bit of a run here. Spectral Dagger is there, and eventually Mango Rose will be able to punish this time around. Quite a bit of gold to go his way on the Spectre.
That kind of helps bounce back after that earlier death. It does allow Mango Rose to at least split slightly ahead of his own Marcy. Still a slower game for Mango Rose though. DB starting to pull ahead, given free space on the Elk. They're forcing action away from where the Elk's farming. So Atlantis are forced to constantly come in, haunt in, and try to disrupt the aggression of AG, which leads to a better time for the Elk to hit that mid-game spike when some items start to flow through. And ideally you'd want to punish that, but again, just no angles yet. Wonder Boy saving up for his blink, although.
Lane, Azura, the initiation, has the blink up. Nice arrow to cancel the Death Sword as Wonder Boy drops the arena, and now the Golem has gone down as well, so Barish does drop into the Tiny. They've got another held down. Azura, he is dropping real time lowers. Look at this, Jonathan. Your favorite. There it was. The slow's kicking in. Ponyo's done it. Narman, he's going to try to run. In fact, he's going to try to fight back, but it does get caught out. The rebound, and Narman does end up dropping. Wow, wow, wow. Upheaval. What a spell.
What did I tell you about the arena combo? Look at that. Ponyo goes for level 2 upheaval as well. 1-2-2 build.
Wow.
My man. Arena combination with upheaval. No BKBs early on. And the slows mean you don't retreat. Big kills out coming through from Atlantis, taking that mid tower as well. I guess the happy news for AG is that DB is farming, but you have to watch how much you sacrifice for that. Wami's now bottom network core. Slow start on the Razor. Still needs that BKB. And Atlantis are starting that invasion very slowly into the bot jungle, cutting off some farm points for AG's end. For AG's part, they should know massive spells are down. They can play here.
Zora, Avalanche toss back into WS. Melody does actually connect as well, but they got no damage off after the fact. They've got to go for a chase, but WS is going to be fine to TP out. Azura, Avalanche, oh, he's barely got it in time. How unfortunate for WS. Nice plays though from AG as they do pick off another. And John, across the map, I don't mean to get you too excited, but Ponyo's gone for level 3 upheaval now. My god, look at this.
Look at that. I think they understand though. Like, their big play is arena. They don't want to keep relying on arena golem as we saw in the last fight. So at least they'll have arena upheaval, which, again, it's massive area control because you can't run out. You don't have early BKBs. You could probably blink out if you're Azura and you don't get hit by anything. Very, very unlikely. Very hard to kind of find that angle in that arena, especially if the spears target to you anyway. So we'll see if that's something Atlantis will want to play with. Blink is already up in Wonder Boy. They could look to try to get that combination off now with a Haunt off cooldown as well for Mango Rose. AG though, it is a Radiance build-up here for DB, and that does still look set to come out at a really good timing. So the Alchemist, their win condition on the Alch for momentum is still building up. And once the Radiance is up, the farm will kick in even further. They're just not really punishing DB the same way that Mango Rose was punished. There is a smoke play out though, and they will try to go for something here, Mike. Scan though. Spots him out for a bit.
Yeah, very nice scan there onto WS.
Nice ah. Siapa yang nice?
Voicelines come out, kind of letting them know about it. It's Wami and Narman. They are still potentially targets here for Atlantis if they do stick around. Narman to make his presence known. Wami still around, but no, they make the blink in onto the Dawnbreaker instead, completely missing the Razor. So they might find the POS 4 Dawnbreaker, but you could have found the POS 3 Razor instead. Either way, they'll take what they get here on the side of Atlantis, and well, considering you knew the smoke happened, it's a bit of a shame that AG get caught out down a bot lane like that.
Yeah, I think it's just a single of that.
DP disposes there. Wonder Boy is around with the Arena Spear, and now they catch out another. Atlantis really capitalizing off these mistakes here from AG, and well, I guess in the end the smoke did work out, John.
That pays off. Again, that angle for the scan was a bit clunky, right? It went off for a moment and disappeared, so they didn't have a clear idea as to the angle they take, maybe not expecting that long route down bot. Still a smoke opportunity for AG, knowing Arena's down, could try to look for that pickoff on Wonder Boy, and they're making their way over here.
They are. Wonder Boy. May get caught with his pants down here by AG, and get Avalanche, there's your toss. Well, there's your Solar Guardian. No problems here against Wonder Boy. They'll take down the Mars. Very even game between these two teams. The one big concern for AG right now, though, is this Alchemist is just nowhere near the point where you feel like you're getting scared of this guy. You know, he's getting there, but not quite anywhere near it, though.
Not quite. Only a 2k lead over a Spectre. That needs to escalate even further. You have to worry about Mangroves having his Ags up once more. Make sure it works something like a Witch Doctor now. And again, you can play with a tempo if you're on Atlantis. You have a lot of spells on low cooldown. You don't necessarily need the full Haunt. You don't necessarily need the full Golem. You can just keep going, looking for these opportunistic pickoffs and play off the back of your Mars. Still, I think the one thing for AG is that as they scale towards, say, mid to late game, you can kind of shift your priority onto the Tiny. And it doesn't have to be all in on the Alk. The Tiny can scale into that pause 1 once more. Silver Edge build up AC is still really nice with a Shard. Let's see if they get the opportunity. There's movement out here from Atlantis.
Do they really want to fight into Azura, though? Rish may get caught out. Wonderboy can go in and does do so with the Arena. Will land a nice spear onto Azura, into a Golem, and here comes WS trying to get some more damage off. It looks like they should be able to as well. Azura falling way too low. How much can they punish, though? Barish is going to go down. In fact, Wami is down as well. DB, he TP's in to try and help out. WS, he might finally drop and does. So a 2-for-3 trade in the favor of Atlantis. Again, AG just do not seem to be in a position where they can really fight right now, and Atlantis, they continue to capitalize off that.
And get a good group up, great smoke angle to come in. Maybe a bit of a misplay out. The Avalanche didn't manage to clip our Mars Wonderboy as he jumped in for the Arena, so that still gave the angle to pick off Azura. If Azura lived through, that would have been a much stronger trade for the side of AG. Atlantis not going to be, of course, thinking about that. They're going to be very happy with the build-up. They're getting a lot of value on Mangaros. Still behind the Alk, but the gold lead just isn't big enough from DB for it to be fully impactful just yet. BKB is coming out soon here, though, for DB. And at that point, you could start to fight early on the Alk. Get some aggression going for your team. I think the one thing that's really been sacked here from the side of AG, though, has been Wami. He has not had a good game on the Razor, still bottom network core behind even Azura. BKB, very close, but he needs more after that. You're going to need that build up into refresh. That's going to take even more time. And he is still really squishy to the output from the side of Atlantis. He's not able to just stand there statically inspect. Very hard to isolate that here in these fights.
Caught out again. Wonderboy right in with the Arena Spear, catching out another. You start to ask your question as well now, like, what is AG trying to do with this draft anymore? It just feels like they're getting run over right now by Atlantis, and Barish, he's going to try and jump in, but this is all alone. And what was the point of that?
Maybe looking for punishment onto one, not respecting the mobility coming through from on Marcy, and with those two pickups, Atlantis has a little bit of room to just keep that pressure onto mid. They know someone's got to respond and farm here. DB showing his face forward. Does have the BKB. So committing onto the Alk can be a bit tougher. But again, they still have Haunt, they still have Shadow Step here. And they have the Blink Spear. That's more than enough at this point in the game to get a couple of big kills. And AG, it's draining into DB. He's still number one, but no one else is farming. Azura stalled out, trying to go for his BKB. Wami still needs to finish his. Smoke out, though, from AG. And we'll see if Azura finds a good target to go for, if they'll just go for a tower take. Looks like they're just maybe using DB as bait.
DB. Goes for the mid-tier 1 tower. Atlantis, I mean, they've certainly showed signs of life here in this game number 2. As they group up mid lane again, they might even force a fight. WS has been very good at just making the jump in and starting the team fight here with Wonderboy. Buying so much time for this Spectre. He's only 4.5k behind the Alk, so it's a great position here for Atlantis. Just being only just about 4k behind the Alchemist, it's nothing. 21 minutes in, the Alk just nowhere near the point where you start to really get afraid of it. You're going for an AC next, sure, but even after that, it's like, well, where's your damage?
It's still a bit lacking. I think maybe you start to think about pivoting towards that tiny core. And after the BKB, go for the Silver Edge. I would say it's a bit goofy, but you could consider gifting an Ags out to Azura. I don't know if Tree Vault's really that useful here, though. It's a bit awkward to use, but they will go for the smoke play now. Again, you still have good burst damage on the Tiny, just need to find those softer targets.
They fought under this vision before, John. Atlantis, well, they know. Arena has been dropped, and there's your Horde down. This is not a good team fight for AG. It doesn't seem as Narman does come in with the Solar Guardian. Wami's sapping away, but isn't doing much. Not quite. They're getting wiped out on the side of AG. As Wami's gone, DB's the only one left over. He's just trying for a Mirana kill. The Moonlight Shadow's just kind of ruining him. He's gonna go down. I mean, this is at least the second time they fought under this Observer Ward.
Buset, sakit banget kayak ditabrak truk.
It never got dewarded.
And they're not able to take control of their own jungle, and they force the issue out. They get punished for it. I don't know how you kind of fight back into this. I think the big issue, in my view, for this draft is that the Razor flex isn't working out. The lane was decent enough for Wami, but his impact in these fights are negligible. He's sapping away on the Marcy. You'd rather maybe go for Manga Rose. Free Roshan here from the side of Atlantis. Secondary life for Manga Rose. The Spectre having a much stronger start this time around, taking way more activity for the Ags build up. And for AG, I mean, say you get this AC up on DB, all nice and done. You need to start giving more towards Azura. You can't allow all the gold to be siphoned into DB. It feels like maybe after AC you could go for a Basher. That could be one way to kind of get things done. Maybe even a Silver Edge for DB could be good. But it does feel like the brunt of your late game damage will be coming in from Azura rather than DB, and you need to find a way to share that gold here. But Alk doesn't share well, Mike. He just likes clearing everything for himself.
Yeah, and all this net worth is just again leading to nothing. At least for now. You look at the Spectre, Mango Rose, he's still only 3k behind. Very, very good time for the Spectre. Eye of Skadi to come out next. We all know how hard it makes the Ark's life once you have the Eye of Skadi up. And even without these items, like, they're still getting destroyed in these team fights. Whether it just be outplays or whether it be draft, it won't matter though, because there's a net worth leads the way of Atlantis now against an Alchemist. And well, to be fair, Alk has been a very low win rate hero recently, but that's kind of part of the point. Well, why do you choose it?
I think it's maybe down to other regions. Again, I know Alk has been picking up popularity elsewhere, just not the most successful here in C. We're at the point where you have a full Basher up on WS, along with his BKB down to 8 seconds. The Marcy gets on top of you with Unleash, you have no counter. There's just no stopping that any longer. And oh.
Nah, but yeah, he's been caught out. Nice pick off here from Atlantis. They'll take another. Now pings out towards the mid lane. They found DB.
Radiant's top tower is under attack.
He's gonna walk his way out of there. But now, I mean, Atlantis, they still just dominate the map. While the Aegis is up as well, they can practically take any team fight they want. In fact, DB is gonna be spotted now by Mango Rose. DB actually gonna go for a stun attempt here, but the TPs are coming towards the bottom tier 1 tower, and Wonderboy, he does get stunned up by one of the paralyzing casks. In fact, a second stun out, and that's gonna stop him from dropping an arena down. So DB, it feels like he's kind of lucky to survive through that. Though he does have BKB, but still quite a scary scenario.
Kind of just forcing the response out, funneling Atlantis in down bot, so maybe opening up the other lanes. Wonderboy a bit late in that blink, doesn't manage to find anything, but this should still lead to a tier 2 push. Opening up the high ground once more, at least on bot. Still 2 tier 2 towers left for AG to protect. For AG's side, I mean, AC up in DB, he's going for the blink next. Maybe once he gets an overwhelming blink, you start to get happy. It still feels underwhelming saying that though. I think Azura really has to get more gold up. But now he's the bottom network core. He's stalled out even in his own BKB timing.
DB, speed up. Wonderboy catching him out again. BKB is available, but he's not able to get it off in time right now as well. He does eventually with the Solar Guardian to come out to try and help him out, but it's not enough. He just melts. Mango Rose, he'll find a double. Onto Varish now. That'll be a triple probably coming out. He does go for a bit of a Death Ward. That might at least find the Aegis. But they are going to get a triple kill onto the Spectre. This is without the Eye of Skadi, by the way, John. Once it's up, you just don't stand a chance.
Doesn't feel like it. They just don't have enough to breach that spec. The Alk is pretty defensive. I mean, there's some output with the Radiance. They saw a little bit of minus armor with the AC, but it's not the big beefy hits that you want to kind of rip apart the spec. They play it safe here. Just take another tier 2. Start to open up more angles onto the high ground threat. If they win another team fight, they've got the 4K lead their way. They can just choose to wait for the next Roche. But knowing how, or at least knowing the position Atlantis is in, I'll probably just keep looking for pickoffs. Shadow Step's still on hand. As long as someone shows on map, they're going to be able to just jump on top, find more kills, and snowball from there. For AG, let's see what they want. DB is still farming, but to what extent?
Ponyo dropped very, very deep. Doesn't get scattered out here. Ponyo going to be fine to walk away. There is going to be a smoke there, but that might have been underneath the vision they just planted. Atlantis, I mean, they just back right out. No hesitation the matter. Mango Rose now has that Eye of Skadi we talked about.
Radiant's top tower is under attack.
Here we go, they do find the Spectre. DPs to come in. Can they take him down though? Mango Rose, he's quite tanky. His Wonder Boy is in with the arena, saving the day. The Solar Guardian is going to be committed, trying to help out, but Mango's out. Now Azura's in trouble. They are still chasing down the Spectre, but they are not catching him. He is perfectly fine. They do find WS. They do get a 1-for-1 trade here for AG, but it's not the one they want, that's for sure.
Not the big kill they need onto that core. Trying to get that punishment while the Aegis is down on Mango Rose. And Atlantis gonna be pretty satisfied. They know they're starting to blow through their BKBs here on the side of AG. And
And he actually just died through the illusions there. Azura now in big trouble. That'll be another kill. Mango Rose right in. Tips out from Wonder Boy. Tips out from Ponyo. Look at this. Spectre's just going at it. Golem drop, Fatal Bond's out. Oh, Mango Rose, he's just not stopping. Onto DB he goes. He'll take on the whole world. At this point, John, I gotta say it. I mean, AG, I think they've just gotta call it. This draft's not working.
no, they're 8k behind. The Alchemist is matched by the Spectre and farm. You don't have that gold advantage to kind of flex on any longer. So, yeah, I don't know how the defense goes. It's like they get a good static link from Wami. It's just not enough to stop Mango from running all over them. They find mid-racks, and they can't find any more, but they can look for the end game. They're feeling confident on Atlantis' end, but no mega creeps that can be lined up. So they might just play it safe, all things considered. No need to really rush the point, and they will back off. Pay some respects.
Mid-racks. Taken down. It's a nice start here for the side of Atlantis. As well, top tier 2 tower going to drop as well very slowly but surely. Rose and Wonder Boy trying at it. It seems like that's going to be enough. We'll have an next Roshan to play for, so there's absolutely no need to rush this one. Army Geniuses, I suppose they're not out of the game yet, but you look at that Dota Plus, John, they've been given a 1% chance to win this game. I'd agree with that. I think that's fairly accurate.
That does sound about right. I know, like, look at the itemization of Azure, it's not amazing. They're just going for rough jumps and the small glimpses of vision they have and not able to find anything. DB is going for a Silver Edge that could give them some way of piercing through the Spectre and a little bit more damage on the Alk. So that could start a swing back. I can't even convince myself here, Mike. It's just a bit tough.
It's rough. Mid lane, Azura, he's going to show himself, but the immediate jump is there. Mango Rose running right in as Azura getting stunned up here, is going to go down. They've got the Basher up on WS. Barish down as well, it's a double as they chase for more. Wami will be the triple it seems as Mango Rose and WS all over it. Wonder Boy to take that one. Now DB trying to get himself out is going to be fine with the BKB TP. Of course, Mango Rose does not have a basher himself. Again, this game, it's well and truly looking over here as... Well, AG, they're not calling it. They're going to keep playing this one out, but... It is really hard to see how they're making comeback. I mean, it's going to have to be like a massive dive into a bounce by Atlantis to make this one losable themselves. As now Wonder Boy jumps in onto DB. There you go, they call it. They have seen enough. Tips out to Narman here from Mango Rose as well, getting a bit of revenge. Now Atlantis, they play that really well, and more importantly, John, I think AG just didn't play that right at all.
Yeah, I mean, there is a timing to meet with that kind of lineup. I also think it just kind of boils down to their flex with a Razor, right? They picked a Razor, they picked the Tiny, maybe thinking that they'd run Razor safe lane, a Tiny for Narman, something else down mid. Instead, they close out, flexing the Tiny mid for Azura, having the Alk pause 1, and then Wami on the offlane Razor. Now, offlane Razor can work out. Up against the Spectre, it's not the easiest thing in the world. We did see some aggression out from Wami in that lane, but down the line, he had no impact. They had no big playmaker on their team outside of Blink Avalanche Toss, which did fade off relatively fast here for the side of AG. And Atlantis, they just kept hitting these spikes. They get a good Blink timing from Wonder Boy in mid, and then just run around. They have Shadow step up in the Spectre. They have Haunt. They can just keep you down, and they had so much mobility with Morrissey on hand as well that AG had no counterplay. So we'll have to see. I think coming out of this one, Atlantis had a greater understanding of their own draft this time. They knew what they wanted to do with the Spectre. They knew what they wanted out from their mid-Mars and the offlane Marcy, and play around it a lot better than AG could.
All right. Well, with that, John, we are going to head off to a short break, and of course, right after that break, we'll have Game 3 draft up between AG and, of course, Atlantis. We'll see you then.